It was one of those perfect summer days at Sunset Beach, the kind where the sky stretches endlessly blue and the sun warms your skin just enough without burning. I remember it vividly because that was the day everything changed between Alex and me. My name is Jamie, and I've always been the quieter one in our friend group. Thoughtful, a bit reserved, but secretly craving adventure. Alex, on the other hand, has always been magnetic, the kind of person who walks into a room and immediately becomes its center, not because he demands attention, but because he radiates a confidence that draws people in naturally. Our beach trip had been planned for weeks, a celebration of the end of finals and the beginning of summer freedom. 6 of us piled into 2 cars loaded with coolers, beach umbrellas, portable speakers, and enough snacks to feed twice our number. The drive to the beach was filled with singing along to playlists and jokes about how pale we all looked after months locked in libraries and lecture halls. When we arrived, the beach was already dotted with colorful umbrellas and families, but not so crowded that we couldn't find a perfect spot near the water. We spread out our blankets, stuck our umbrellas into the sand, and within minutes, everyone was settling into their beach rituals. Mia immediately buried herself in a novel. Carlos and Zoe headed straight for the water, and Alex started setting up our makeshift picnic area. I was helping Alex arrange the coolers when he looked up at me with that smile that always made my stomach do a little flip. "Race you to the water?" he challenged, already pulling his shirt over his head. I hesitated, not because I didn't want to, but because watching Alex undress always required a moment of mental preparation. He had this effortless athletic build that came from years of swimming, and I'd been fighting my attraction to him since freshman year. "You're on," I finally replied, removing my own shirt with considerably less confidence. We sprinted across the hot sand, laughing as we dodged beach towels and sandcastles. The cold water shocked my system as we plunged in, and for a while, we just swam and talked, floating on our backs and letting the gentle waves rock us. I remember thinking how comfortable I felt with him, how easy it was to be myself despite the complicated feelings I harbored. After swimming, we rejoined our friends on the beach. Carlos had brought a volleyball, and soon we were engaged in an increasingly competitive game. Alex and I ended up on opposite teams, and he took great pleasure in spiking the ball just beyond my reach, grinning triumphantly each time. When my team finally scored a point against his, I celebrated with perhaps too much enthusiasm, jumping and accidentally knocking over Alex's drink that was perched in the sand. The sticky orange soda splashed across his chest and shorts, making him gasp at the sudden cold wetness. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I apologized immediately, mortified by my clumsiness. But instead of being annoyed, Alex just laughed. "No worries," he said, looking down at his now-soaked shorts. "I needed to wash off the salt water anyway. I'm heading to the shower station. Want to come? You've got sand all over your back." I hadn't noticed the sand, but I could feel it now, gritty between my shoulder blades. The beach had public shower stations near the restrooms, simple open-air stalls with fresh water to rinse off before heading home. I nodded and followed him, grabbing my towel as we walked. "Shoot," Alex muttered as we reached the showers. "I forgot my towel. Mind if we share yours? I promise I don't have cooties." "Sure," I said, trying to sound casual while my heart rate picked up. The shower area was relatively quiet, with just a couple of families rinsing sandy feet nearby. Alex stepped under one of the shower heads and closed his eyes as the water sluiced over him, washing away the soda and sand. I took the shower next to his, turning my back to rinse the sand off, acutely aware of his presence just a few feet away. When we both finished, I held out my towel, expecting him to take it and dry himself before handing it back. Instead, Alex stepped closer, took the towel from my hands, and with a playful smile, wrapped it around both our hips, pulling me closer until we were standing face to face, our wet chests almost touching. "This is more efficient, don't you think?" he said, his voice lower than usual. I could feel the heat radiating from his body despite the cool water still dripping from both of us. The towel wasn't particularly large, a standard beach towel with faded blue stripes, and to keep it around both of us required standing intimately close. Let me explain why this moment mattered so much. For years, I'd carefully maintained the boundaries of our friendship, never letting on that my feelings ran deeper. I'd dated other people, even had a serious girlfriend sophomore year, but there had always been something about Alex that pulled at me. And now here we were, half naked and sharing a towel, his arm casually around my waist to hold the fabric in place. I stammered, unsure what to say. Water droplets clung to his eyelashes, and I noticed for the first time that his eyes weren't just brown, but had flecks of gold near the pupils. "You've got water in your ear," Alex said, reaching up with his free hand to gently brush a droplet from my earlobe. The touch sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with being cold. "Thanks," I managed, trying desperately to act normal while my pulse pounded in my ears. I became hyper-aware of every sensation: the rough texture of the towel against my hip, the warm pressure of his arm around my waist, the faint scent of his coconut sunscreen mingling with the salt water. "You know," Alex said conversationally, as if we weren't standing chest to chest in a public shower area, "I've been wanting to get you alone all day." My breath caught. "You have?" He nodded, his eyes never leaving mine. "There's something I've been wanting to talk to you about, but it never seemed like the right time with everyone around." A mixture of hope and anxiety swirled in my stomach. Was this heading where I thought it might be? Or was I projecting my own wishes onto an innocent situation? "What did you want to talk about?" I asked, proud that my voice remained steady despite my internal turmoil. Alex adjusted his grip on the towel, his fingers brushing against my hip bone in a way that felt deliberate. "I've noticed something changing between us lately. The way you look at me sometimes, it's different than before. Or maybe I'm just finally noticing what was always there." The directness of his words startled me. Alex had always been straightforward, but this level of emotional honesty was new territory for us. I considered deflecting with humor, my usual defense mechanism, but something in his expression stopped me. There was vulnerability there, beneath the confidence. "I didn't think you'd noticed," I admitted quietly. His smile widened, relief evident in his features. "So I wasn't imagining it." I shook my head, finding courage in his openness. "No, you weren't imagining it." A family with young children walked past us toward the showers, and we both instinctively stepped closer together to ensure the towel stayed in place, our bodies now fully pressed against each other. The contact sent electricity through me, and I saw Alex's pupils dilate slightly in response. "Maybe we should finish this conversation somewhere more private," he suggested, his voice husky. I nodded, but neither of us moved immediately. There was something powerful about this liminal space we'd created, not quite public, not quite private, suspended between friendship and something more. Alex's hand moved from my waist to the small of my back, his touch gentle but purposeful. "Or maybe we don't need to talk at all," he murmured. Before I could respond, the towel slipped slightly, and Alex quickly adjusted it, laughing softly. The movement brought our faces even closer together, and I could feel his breath on my lips. Time seemed to slow down as we stood there, water still dripping from our hair, the sounds of the beach, children laughing, waves crashing, seagulls calling, fading into the background. I'm not sure who leaned in first. Maybe we both did simultaneously, but suddenly his lips were on mine, hesitant at first, then more confident as I responded. His mouth tasted of salt water and the watermelon candy he'd been eating earlier, and his hand moved to cup the back of my neck, holding me close as the kiss deepened. The world around us disappeared completely. I forgot we were in a public place, forgot about our friends waiting back on the beach, forgot about everything except the sensation of Alex's lips against mine and his warm skin pressed to my chest. Years of suppressed feelings surged to the surface, making the kiss more intense than any I'd experienced before. When we finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, Alex rested his forehead against mine. "I've been wanting to do that for so long," he confessed. "Me too," I admitted. "Since freshman orientation, if I'm being honest." He pulled back slightly, eyes wide with surprise. "Freshman orientation? That's 3 years, Jamie. Why didn't you ever say anything?" I shrugged, suddenly shy despite the intimacy we'd just shared. "You always seemed so confident, so popular. And I wasn't even sure if you liked guys. You dated Elise for most of sophomore year. And you dated Rebecca," he countered. "I thought you were straight until I caught you checking out that bartender at Carlos's birthday party last semester." I laughed, remembering the moment he was referring to. "Yeah, that wasn't my most subtle moment." "It gave me hope, though," Alex said, his expression turning serious again. "That maybe I wasn't completely delusional thinking there might be something between us." A group of teenage boys approached the shower area, their loud voices breaking the bubble of intimacy we'd created. Alex sighed and reluctantly stepped back, keeping the towel around his waist but releasing me from our shared cocoon. We should probably head back before the others send a search party, he said, though his eyes told me he'd rather stay. I nodded, taking the towel he offered and quickly drying myself. As I handed it back to him, our fingers brushed, and the simple contact felt charged with new meaning. So what happens now? I asked as we gathered our things, suddenly uncertain about what this meant for our friendship, our friend group, everything. Alex considered the question as he dried himself. Now, he said thoughtfully, we go back to our friends, enjoy the rest of our beach day, and maybe later, when we're alone, we can continue where we left off. He paused, looking at me intently. Unless you're having second thoughts? No, I said quickly, definitively. No second thoughts. Just processing. This is something I've wanted for so long that it doesn't quite feel real. His smile returned, softer now. I know what you mean, but it is real, Jamie. To emphasize his point, he leaned in and placed a quick, gentle kiss on my lips. Very real. We walked back to our friends side by side, not touching but close enough that our arms occasionally brushed. I felt simultaneously lighter and more grounded than I had in years, as if something that had been out of alignment had finally clicked into place. Our friends were engrossed in a card game when we returned, barely looking up to acknowledge our presence. Only Mia, always the most observant of our group, gave us a curious look, her eyes darting between us as if trying to solve a puzzle. You guys were gone a while, she commented casually. Everything okay? Just had to rinse off thoroughly, Alex replied, shooting me a private smile. Jamie helped me get sand out of places I couldn't reach. Carlos snorted without looking up from his cards. TMI, dude. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of sunshine, more volleyball, and shared glances that held new meaning. Every accidental touch, every inside joke, every smile exchanged across our circle of friends felt different now, charged with potential and promise. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in dramatic oranges and pinks, our group packed up our beach gear. In the chaos of folding chairs and collecting scattered belongings, Alex managed to pull me aside behind one of the larger umbrellas. My roommate's away for the weekend, he said quietly, his eyes reflecting the sunset. Do you want to come over tonight? We could order pizza, watch a movie, talk about everything properly. The invitation was casual on the surface, but weighted with implication. This wouldn't just be our usual hanging out. This would be the beginning of something new. I'd like that, I replied, surprised by the steadiness in my voice despite the butterflies in my stomach. Later that night, sitting on Alex's couch with empty pizza boxes on the coffee table and a movie neither of us was watching playing in the background, we talked for hours. About when we'd each first realized our feelings, about the fears that had kept us from acting on them, about what this meant for our friendship and our future. I was so scared of ruining what we had, Alex admitted, his fingers intertwined with mine. You're one of my best friends, Jamie. The thought of losing that was terrifying. I know exactly what you mean, I said. But now I'm wondering how much time we wasted being afraid. He shook his head, squeezing my hand. I don't think it was wasted. Maybe we needed that time to be sure, to be ready for this. As the night deepened around us, our conversation gave way to more kisses, to exploring this new dimension of our relationship with both eagerness and tender care. And when Alex pulled me into his bedroom, closing the door behind us with a soft click, I knew with absolute certainty that the accidental towel incident at the beach had been the beginning of something beautiful. 1 year later, we returned to that same beach, to that same shower station. Alex brought a towel, a new one, larger and softer than the one we'd shared that first day, and wrapped it around us both, recreating the moment that had changed everything. Happy anniversary, he whispered against my lips. And as we stood there, wrapped in a towel in each other's arms, I marveled at how sometimes the most ordinary objects, a beach towel, a shower station, a spilled soda, could become the props in the most extraordinary moments of our lives. How a simple gesture like sharing a towel could be the catalyst for revealing truths we'd kept hidden for years. That day at the beach had taught me something profound about courage and vulnerability, about taking chances on love even when it's scary. Because sometimes, the most beautiful connections are waiting just on the other side of our fears, wrapped in a towel and smiling. Total _char_count, 17,893.